I think everything in life teaches us something. If you ask it for an answer, it will bring just that to your home. I was ringing the doorbell, waiting to hear back. And what I heard was everyone's passions and stories about art. Across the board, the words that echo are, as an artist, you're thinking art all the time. It isn't a simple hobby. It's a way of life, a path we choose to walk, creating from ourselves and trusting our hands and minds to guide us. We embrace stepping outside of the box and plunging into the discomforts of creativity, balancing our knowledge and skills with the flow. As an artist, we try many things as we work many jobs. Yet, as these things unite us, art means something different for us on a deeper level. Who is art, and what does it hold for each of us?
A friend of mine was in trouble, and I thought, well, what do you do when you're in trouble? You know, if the earth is shaking around you, you go stand in a doorway. So I made her a little doorway, and then I started making a bunch of doorways. It's not illogical to go from doorways to keys. So what's trying to be unlocked, I don't know. You know, maybe it's creativity. Maybe it's just something to focus on. I'm a person that's always done well if I have a little bit of direction. You know, so when I was in the drama department, my prof would just give a line and say, go create a scene based on this one line, and I needed that line. So maybe I kind of need the go make 5,000 keys, because then it's like so much that can happen with it, you know? And then if you have kind of a limit in a way, it opens up way more possibilities, because there's that little parameter on it.
From the very, very beginning, it was very much my goal and my intention to not box myself in, to not enter into the program identifying as anything. And almost immediately, it turned into an installation practice. My very first seminar in grad school, I put up all my prints, and so all the faculty compiling into my grad studio, and nobody wanted to talk about my prints. Nobody. They were all very much enamored with my organized materials. And they were making the suggestion that that could be my art practice. And at that time, that I was like, what are you talking about? But that was very much the catalyst for the direction that would transpire.
I really find feeds my specialities. I really enjoy being face-to-face with other artists and finding out new things about them and their art practice, what their goals are as artists, and then trying to help them achieve that goal, whether it be emerging, mid-career, professional. There's always more that artists could be doing that they may not realize is out there. Because I get to meet all these other people, I find things out, and then I like to link artists with each other to achieve those goals.
I'm passionate about storytelling, but doing it with a journalistic base to it. I think there's an art to good storytelling, and there's skills that you learn. Like, I think of skills in terms of the art of asking questions, the art of doing an interview, the art of actively listening, the art of being really engaged with the person at the moment. There's a real art to how you frame a story, where you include information and details, where you include strength and power and emotional meaning, where you put those into a story, I think is really important. I was very lucky this past year to have worked with two amazing CBC producers. We went to Norway last summer, and then, you know, in my mind, it's like I thought I knew how I wanted to structure the story, and then I worked with AC and Allison, and they taught me so much about the best ways to structure a story.
Our world, there's obviously a dark side, you know, like if we're concerned about the environment, say we're concerned about global warming, that when we look out at the political landscape to see where is the will to mitigate this, well, it seems like the people in power are not moving so quickly, and there's a lot there to be critical of. But I think if you want to deliver, say, an artistic critique of that. And if you want to do it with force, then joy does enter into the frame. It can be extremely dark and very critical, but at the same time, there is a sort of an expression of joy that has to do with an exploration of a media and giving that media or medium power.
It was a beautiful thing said by somebody about how music became like a mother to this person, and I have come a long way in my personal life to realize why my life was the way it was and why it made me the way that I was. And I've dealt with a lot of anger because when I want to be with people to get what I need, I can't. I've realized something, that I know what that is, that feeling. It's always a negative. It's when I need something. Think of it this way. This is super vulnerable. Think of how when you struggle with something, innately, you're wanting to go to someone for care. You're going to someone for just, it's like you don't want to feel alone. So music has been my mother. That's the only way I can describe it is I go and I take those feelings in myself of maybe it makes me feel things, and then I somehow go to sound. It's really sound. And I say, here, I want to tell you something. Let's talk. Let's connect. And I gotta let something go. And that's my decompress, and it's my letting go.
The reason behind becoming videographer and content creator was, at first place, I watched all those guys who were traveling around the world, capturing beautiful landscapes and people, and I wanted to be the same. So that's how it started. So going that route, I've realized it's not that easy to become a full-time creator, because again, for my parents, let's say for my family, being creative, it's not a job. You can't make money on being creative, being a blogger, videographer, content creator, and all those kind of things, doing a podcast, anything like that. For my family, it's being an engineer, lawyer, economist, anything like that. First of all, and not be tied to same place, same job, same people, because I'm very social. I'm a very extroverted person. I love to travel. I love to experience new things, new people. So in my life, I really want to be free.
That's where I want to go into children's education, entertainment type thing. Also another one that really influences me is Zumumafu. It's a kids program about animals, and my personal artwork, I have a portfolio called Animal Friends, where they're little animals dressed up in little clothes and doing little tiny stories. In a perfect world where I can create my own job and not have to worry about money or anything, I would definitely be a children's theater or TV. Educational entertainment is also another phrase I like to throw around when I think about my dream job. So I was very fortunate last year to be approached by some theater to do their theater in the park, and then again do it this year, which that is right up my alley. Last year we talked about global warming and colonization disguised as a children's theater, and it was amazing.
Music itself, I just love music. I wish I could explain how much I love it, but soundtracks to things I'm super drawn to. I think when I was a kid, I played a lot of NES, Super NES era games. I loved the sound of chiptune. It was just something that my brain couldn't comprehend. I was like, how are these beep boops making music? I loved it so much that I remember the first time I got an iPod Nano, I just loaded it with game soundtracks. I just found game soundtracks so incredibly complex. And later on, looking at music, under the hood they're incredible. The people that compose for game soundtracks are full on orchestral composers. You have to record, I guess, more layman's terms. The orchestra had a violin, a cello, a piano, and drum lines. It's this synth plays the drums, this synth plays the melody, this synth's playing the harmonies. And as a kid, I didn't understand that I liked it, but I loved the complexity of that sound. I was just innately drawn to it, I would say.
I was on this flight. I was coming back to Saskatoon, and there was a film crew on the plane. And I was lucky enough to sit next to one of the videographers. And I knew he was a videographer because his bag had all like the sticker brands on it and everything. Yeah, so I asked him about it. And I just talked his head off. I was like, you know, what school did you go to? How did you get into it? Yada, yada. And he simply just said, like, people don't care about your resume. They care about your portfolio. So if you want to get good at something, just start it right away. There's no need to go to school for art unless you really have to or really want to. And that just completely like blew my mind and changed my mindset. So the moment I landed, I quit all my jobs. I dropped out of university, bought a camera. I found this amazing mentor that helped me. He brought me onto some film sets and just showed me around the community. And then that's when I started my own business.
When I create, I'm not making it for like myself. Like I don't see myself as the end goal. When I make it, I usually have a person in my mind. I have to be around a particular person or people that I know that I can sit down, talk to, because I multitask when I'm doing art. I'm not completely silent. I need somebody there that I can just talk to and ramble at while I'm drawing and say random things to. And they just deal with it and go along with my whims. Like, I will say the most out-of-pocket things while I'm drawing, and they'll just be like, yep, whatever makes you happy. When I'm in a space with someone, in order for me to actually pull out my best work or for me to be consolidated into an idea continuously, I find I've created several works and almost filled up an entire sketchbook doing that, because I would talk to this particular person day to day, and every time I talk to them, I'd start drawing.
When I moved to South Africa, I had no idea that you could be a collaborative printmaker. And that what that means is that you work with artists to produce their work. I always had bigger ideas of what I wanted to do rather than the idea itself. I didn't necessarily want to be an artist, although I wanted to make art. And what I found is obviously when I worked into the collaborative studio, because you're relying on a conversation between two or more people, collaboration comes naturally to me. Then over years and years, I just grew to trust my hands to understand the techniques that I was working in. Art making is problem solving. Printmaking is part science, part math, and part art. I make art that is repeatable, which simply means if there's an edition, I make more than one, which means your hands just get more and more trusted at the process of making them. And I find that therapeutic in thinking through the next set of problems that I'm working on with either the next artwork or the next artist I'm working with in the studio. It's never boring. It's always interesting.
I'm a huge animal lover, and when I was younger, I was never allowed to have animals or pets. So by being able to create my own animals, my own characters, that kind of brought comfort for me. I've always just loved doing cutesy art just because like a wide audience can appreciate it too. I've definitely gone through different phases of my art style. I liked realism at one point, but I thought that by developing kind of my own style, you can personalize it a little bit better. So that's how I transitioned kind of from realism to just like a cartoony style there where you can just express yourself better. It's sort of the connection, being able to relate to other people too, and just connecting through that art style, because you can draw for people. You know, you're drawing mostly for yourself too, but I've had instances where, you know, a friend isn't feeling well or going through a tough patch or in their life there. And I find that being able to create something for them is really meaningful, and it has a deeper connection to them.
I feel like at a very root, life itself is probably one of my biggest passions. Just connecting to just the very aspect of being, just being alive presently right now. I feel the most alive when I'm in my element. So as an artist, you know, if I'm creating or performing, those experiences, I feel at most connected to being alive. And like, I think being present and ready to create is a huge part of it. But like, for me, some days it feels like it's no different to me than say like somebody surfing. You got to go out there, you got to paddle out, you got to get to your position. But then once you do that, there's an element of waiting and watching for that wave to come in for you to ride. And I feel like, to me, that's a huge way I create. I put myself out there and I allow myself to sit in that kind of floating in the water, so to speak, waiting for that wave of inspiration, that kind of spirit of spontaneity to just, where I'm connecting to my truer nature, to higher power, to something greater than me, in a way become a conduit of creativity connected with the cosmos. Like, that's a huge way for me to, create and to be in that moment.
You've been listening to The Gift Art Holds, created by me, Sofia Zhukova. This piece is a part of Fixed Point Arts and Media Audio Storytelling Training Program, The Empathy Squad, made possible by Canada Service Corps. Special thanks to all of my interviews for bringing all the wonderful stories, and my facilitators Will and Meryl. This wouldn't have been possible without you. Thank you.